Hello, everybody, and welcome to Alphabet Scoop, 95 Google's weekly recap and discussion of the biggest Google-related news. I'm Kyle Bradshaw, and I'm joined, as always, by my colleague, Abner Lee. How have you been this week, Abner?
Hello. This week, good, all things considered. But yeah, let's jump right in, as always. Last week, actually, we had a bit of a scoop on something called Chromebook X. And Kyle?
Sure. So the basic premise is that Google wants to make it easier for you to know a good Chromebook from a bad one. I worked very hard to not use that exact phrasing in our publishing just because I didn't want to call out the OEMs so boldly. But here on this podcast, you get my unfiltered thoughts, which is you need to know a good Chromebook from a bad one, and there have been many bad Chromebooks over the years. So,
an equally unfiltered thought is that this is basically a certification program on the level of what Intel did with Evo a CES or two ago. Basically, they're just ensuring a minimum spec to get this Chromebook X branding, which is not final, might change before it actually launches, but it could also just be Chromebook X. Where we expect it to even appear on the chassis, this branding to appear on the actual cover of laptops, replacing the existing Chrome one.
Right, and that's kind of interesting to me. I mean, it could be as simple as just an X after the usual Chromebook logo, or whatever the alternative branding is, because we've only seen evidence of the one brand, but we also have a decent idea that may or may not be final because it's so generic that
Chromebook
maybe this
X
isn't final.
X historically. There's the iPhone 10. There's X. I don't know. It connotates something premium. I'd say, but it's decidedly not that from what we found. It's not just premium devices.
Right, it's actually more of mid-range, or at least mid-range and above, because so among the qualifications that a device needs to be a Chromebook X is it needs to have at least a certain type of processor, which so far includes AMD processors, which I don't think we really had a premium AMD Chromebook yet, and Intel 12th gen, but specifically they're including the N series, which is like you can pick up a $400, $350 laptop with an N series chip in it. So if those count, we're definitely looking at something in the upper low to middle range.
Yeah, just broadly looking at Chromebooks, I'd say historically there's the $200 Chromebooks that flooded the market at the very beginning of Chrome OS, before there was no space in the name. These, you can still absolutely find these at Best Buy, and they're not a bad value in terms of
they're not.
You get the full web. You can do everything. You maybe can't multitask, or you can maybe only just have half a dozen tabs open or so, but you get everything done. And as you were about to say, I assume, these are the ones you find in schools. These Chromebooks sell. These Chromebooks are important to Google. They want, these are the mass market Chromebooks in the truest sense of the word, mass market. This is the basis default Chromebook, and there's that market.
If you're buying a Chromebook for your parents, for example, just get the $200 one. All they want is to be able to type on a keyboard and access the web and check their emails. Like, my dad runs a decent chunk of his business, not all of it, mind you, because you still need QuickBooks and Windows, things like that. But he does a lot of his business stuff from a Chromebook, like the Lenovo C330 or something like that. Like some $200 hunk of junk that works just fine for what he needs. He's just now getting to the point where he needs to upgrade. So yeah, like there's definitely going to continue to be a market for these low-end Chromebooks, but there's two other markets that I think you're about to get into that would presumably now be represented primarily by Chromebook X.
So actually, let's go to the other end first. There's the flagship Chromebook that's long been occupied by the Chromebook Pixel, 2 generations of that, then the Pixelbook, and then the Pixelbook Go. Well, before that, the Pixel Slate.
Debatable on the Pixel Slate and Pixelbook Go.
True,
they both kind
true.
of slotted more toward the upper mid-range. So yeah, I think the Pixelbook is probably the last
true
Google-branded
flagship.
Premium. Yeah.
But of course, there are other flagships as recently as the past year or so. There's the HP Chromebook Pro. Is that? No.
There's a Pro and there's an Elite. There's 2 Dragonflies.
Dragonflies, that's the branding. I was searching my brain for. There's the Dragonflies, there's stuff like the Framework. There are absolutely flagship, premium, top-of-the-end MacBook Pro competitor Chromebook devices after.
Now that one, I don't know about MacBook Pro competitor.
Well, the price, $1,700, what's a maxed out a Dragonfly Pro? Like $1,700? Or something like that?
I get, like, in terms of pricing, yeah, I guess they are competitors, but in terms of just utility and niceness,
we'll get to that. We'll definitely get to that.
Right.
In the second half of this podcast. But yeah, there's that flagship, and then there's the middle. There's past few years, maybe longer, I think, like, no brass tacks, nobody's buying like $1,000 Chromebook. I would not advocate anybody, I would not recommend anybody buy $1,000 Chromebook. I think I would stop at like $600, even then $500. The middle of Chromebooks is as interesting as the flagship once was. It's these, let's say 8 gigs of RAM, 4 HD displays at maybe like 13 or 14 inches, so it's passable. 128 gigs of storage. There's this middle ground that is markedly better than like the $200 Chromebook.
Absolutely. If somebody says to themselves, I want a Chromebook, not, here Pops, here's a computer, or, here kid, welcome to school, here's a computer. But if you say to yourself, I want a Chromebook, you should be shopping in this like $350 to $600 range.
Yes, that you can also find at Best Buy. They're out there. They're not hard to get compared to a premium Chromebook. And from what we can tell, Chromebook X is targeting that middle ground.
Right. So I'm excited to see what they do with this and how they manage to include, to segue a little bit, some of the exclusive features that Chromebook X models are supposed to get. I'm wondering how they're going to segue those, or I wonder how they're going to make those available to premium Chromebooks, or if everything mid-range and up is just going to be Chromebook X now.
Yeah, it's so yeah, to wrap up the name discussion, Chromebook X it implies premium way more than it actually is. This sound cheesy, but did the reason Google pick X was like X marks the spot? Were they being that cheeky in picking this name? It doesn't cover things well, in my opinion.
It's a name that means absolutely nothing. It adds nothing to the discussion. It contributes nothing. If I just saw an X next to the word Chromebook, I don't even think I would really acknowledge it if I was shopping in the store. So I do hope they land on a different name, but we also haven't seen how Google themselves chooses to represent these devices. So maybe that's a missing key.
Yeah. But as you were saying, software features, stuff like live captions, built-in portrait blur effect, which one of the requirements is that there's a good video camera, front-facing camera, which makes sense, video conferencing, all the rage. Features like voice isolation also build on that. There's presumably a good microphone array is maybe a requirement. It's features like that really strike at this middle, at this idea that this is the Chromebook for you to get your work done.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering, like, kind of thinking to myself now, I don't know why this is coming to me. I'm thinking that Google is maybe doing this separation so that it's a little more obvious why certain features aren't on all Chromebooks. Like, why can't all Chromebooks run Android apps? Or why can't all Chromebooks do Linux stuff? Why can't all Chromebooks have live caption? Well, now there's a good, easy way to know that rather than having to check this big long list to see if, like, oh, okay, hang on, does mine qualify for this? Or does this thing I'm buying qualify? Here it's straightforward. You know that you are going to get every possible feature of ChromeOS by getting a Chromebook X.
That's not that expensive.
Right.
Yeah. Time of day wallpapers are finally happening.
Yeah, we've been waiting on that one. Time of day wallpapers and screensavers. So it's essentially just... I think there's going to be two wallpapers, one that's like clouds and one that displays... I want to say it was New Mexico. That it's just going to be sunrise, daytime, sunset, evening. So those sunrise and sunset ones are going to be particularly short too, and it's going to be interestingly timed to when sunrise and sunset are in your current geographic location, which is fascinating. But so that should just be... I don't think that one needed to be exclusive. No. That one feels a little extra, but I mean, it at least they're setting it apart a little bit and making something nicer available to those.
So yeah, that in short is Chromebook X. That is, again, if the name sticks, that is Google conveying to people, this is the stuff you should be buying, and maybe not necessarily the $200 stuff if you're in the market for a regular Chromebook that lasts you, I don't know, 5+ years.
Yeah, easily, especially since given the extended update durations and all that, just not for Chromebook X, but just in general sense, how they've been extending those expiration dates, 5+ years makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm.
So we use Chromebooks, you and I use Chromebooks, we can get a lot of our work done on Chromebooks. If that was only the computer, if that was the computer we had to use, we could absolutely get our work done there.
That's what I did actually for a good couple of years. I had a Windows computer, but I never used it. I didn't have a Mac until, last year. So yeah, there was a good period of time where I was only working from a Chromebook, and that was interesting times.
So yeah, so that's, again, most people can get their work done on just the Chromebook. I think it's interesting to look at the landscape of Google's computing platforms right now, especially with the Pixel tablet that just came out. There was a few years, 2020? It seemed that Google, they wanted to make Chromebook tablets a big thing, and they're investing so much. The Pixel Slate was kind of a false start to it, but then stuff like the Lenovo IdeaPad Duet, HP had one, those other things that it looked like Google's really wanted to make ChromeOS tablets a thing. They added split screening, improved multitasking, larger touch elements, just like the basics of it, of making it a good tablet platform. I bring this up because it seems like that push has somewhat died. Again, there's still the Duet 5, I believe. Those devices are still out there, but they're existing in a time where Google's full attention appears to be on Android tablets.
And it's honestly confusing to me because ChromeOS is very much capable of doing both. Mm-hmm. And Android is steadily getting ready to do both. And by both, what I mean is productivity and entertainment. The Pixel tablet, as we have it today, is very much an entertainment-only device. Mm-hmm. Like entertainment and smart home, they just kind of lump smart home in there, and it works. But entertainment is the number one thing. You're not trying to be productive on that. They didn't give you a keyboard. They didn't give you a stylus. Where Chromebooks, even some of the duets and all that, they have a stylus, they have a keyboard. And as soon as you attach that keyboard, boom, now you have a laptop, or at least effectively one.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to see Google having worked so hard to make Chromebook tablets productive and useful for entertainment, and now to just put full effort into Android and drop productivity along the way.
Yeah.
It's weird.
The reason I brought up our usage of ChromeOS was, while we can use ChromeOS to do our work, I don't think we can use Android tablets, even with a keyboard attachment, to be as productive. One, the desktop, the Chrome as it is today is not a desktop class browser on Android tablets. It's not. I couldn't do most of the things I wanted to on that browser. That's like just a big turn off. You can't even have extensions. No, it's a big turn off. But yeah, it's at the same time, Google's talking this game about update like Android tablets, and Android tablets as a phrase, as a quote unquote Android tablets. That's where the institutional investment is. Since the Pixel tablet, I don't think they're like explicitly talking up Android tablets like in the lead up to it, but the institutional investment is on updating these Android apps, on making them great on touch surfaces and making them great on the latest version of Android 13 and then Android 14 soon. It's Google likes to have two of everything, and I'm not sure if the messaging is that like these premium flagship Chromebooks, these premium Android tablets, are they meant to start replacing the $200 Chromebooks?
That's an idea, but we're still a long way from that because...
Again, the browser.
I don't know. The browser isn't there. The typing experience is getting there, but it's still not great. And the Pixel tablet doesn't even come with a keyboard or have a third party or first party one available. I don't know. It seems so backward too, because one of the big pushes, Rich Miner, for example, was very much so pushing the whole tablets. Let's do tablets. Let's add styluses to the tablets, and let's push for a new app ecosystem, even that like new styles of apps that couldn't be done without a pen, whatever, to paraphrase, where they put all of this work into Android. And for one, the Pixel tablet is somehow the first Android device to come with the Universal Stylus Initiative, USI, and they did nothing with it. And yet Chromebooks had it ready to go. Chromebooks have been using USI. You can just buy a stylus and use it with your Chromebook instant. Google even made this app. I don't remember exactly what it's called. Yeah. They've been making these apps, and like a drawing app too, I want to say. They've been making these touch ready or pen and stylus ready apps for Chromebooks. And
they don't really translate to Android. These are web-based experiences that can't really run well on Android tablets because the web stuff is lacking.
Right. So I don't know. It's a very confusing place that Google's in, that they're trying, like, if they could actually put all of their efforts behind one initiative, that would be great. Maybe Android is the way, and maybe Chromebooks will just reap the benefits because they have Android. I don't know. It's an odd place that they've done this, but they really need to centralize their efforts if they're ever going to make a tablet that people can use like an iPad.
Yeah.
Like, let artists use it. Let somebody just taking notes use it. Let somebody who just wants to watch a movie use it. Like, whatever you want to do on a tablet, the iPad can do it, and Chromebooks and Androids are getting there.
Yeah. Centralizing the efforts would show a lot of maturity on Google's part, but as you just said, it's equally likely that these two things remain separate, and that Google feels like they're both addressing unique enough markets, and that's what could happen. So yeah, on that on our third act of this podcast is the question: how does Chromebook X relate to whether or not Google will make another Pixelbook?
It feels to me a bit like a sign that they won't.
Yeah.
Just because of the Tensor Chromebook that supposedly got canceled, all the other Chromebooks along the way, the other Pixelbooks, that have been canceled, the Pixel tablets that have been canceled along the way. They keep trying, failing, and just not trying again. And yeah, this feels like they're regressing. Like, our colleague Ben, who admittedly sees things through a certain perspective because his name is Nexus Ben, but he likens this Chromebook X move to the Nexus lineup, which isn't a completely unfair comparison. I mean, it's hardware made by other companies that gets a Google stamp of approval. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the question to ask here, if we're starting on the con, what does Google Pixel hardware? With everything they try to do, they try to make it unique. Phones, it's the camera, it's the AI stuff, it's the speech features, it's that whole suite of like AI assisted features. That's Pixel phones. The Pixel Watch was Fitbit. The Pixel tablet was adding a Nest Hub experience. With a Pixel book, I'm not sure how Google makes it unique. I'm not sure what else they add onto it. It's not like they can design their own a new launcher for Chromebooks. It's just stuck with the same UI. There's not a lot of differentiation there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe doing the same thing they did on the Pixel phones recently, which is just putting in a Tensor chip, and in the sense of the Tensor coprocessor anyway, because
the TPU.
I mean, the TPU, unless they put that in, if they could put that inside of Chromebooks, and that would boost some AI workflows. That's an option. I don't know. Yeah, there's not much else though, because there are really good Chromebook OEMs out there. Because these same people are making good laptops already. So if they're making good Windows laptops, they just throw Chrome OS on it. Not literally, but
yeah,
they have the experience to make it.
It's I don't know, like what's a recorder? Maybe they add recorder. They add actually the thing that the Chromebook app streaming, where you can stream apps from your phone to a window on your Chromebook. That was something I thought would have been like a really unique feature between Pixelbooks and Pixel phones. But of course that just launched. Quality is not the best in my opinion, but that's a topic for another day. It's janky. But that seemed like a feature that would be like a prime something unique. The problem is that building these unique features into Chrome OS, it makes more sense to just put it on every single device. You can't guarantee, well, we can assume that most people that buy a Pixelbook also have a Pixel phone, but you can't even guarantee that. It's Pixelbook, Chrome OS-powered devices. They can be so wide and they can be so vast that there's no guarantee of that, you're in the family of the Pixel family. But like design, would be the other thing besides adding a Tensor chip. I guess they could do a unique design.
Yeah, and that is actually something that's one of the key aspects that set the Pixelbook apart, was just having an incredible keyboard, having an experience. Like, I don't think I've ever had another laptop that folded quite as flat and became genuinely a tablet the way that the Pixelbook did. Mm-hmm. If I could buy, I don't care who makes it, if Google makes it, if Apple makes it, I don't care who makes it. If I could have a 2023 device that maintains as much of the original Pixelbook form factor as possible, I'd buy it. It's a good device.
Yeah,
but that's about it. Like that sort of separation was the only thing that really separated the Pixelbook from other Chromebooks, and that was okay.
Yeah, that's so it seems like we're pretty much a no here.
Yeah.
The one opening I do see is if they don't make like a flagship Pixelbook, if they made something closer to a Pixelbook Go. Like again, because, well, it's somewhat hard to say that because Google just released an $1,800 phone, but I don't think flagship Chromebooks at the highest end, they're worth the investment for Google. They have other partners doing that. Do you see like a 600, maybe even a 650 for a maximum configuration? Do you see a Pixelbook Go doing well in the market?
I don't think so, or at least not well enough for it to be worth Google's time, especially because now they're doing this Chromebook X program, and now they can just rely on their partners to make good devices. So now, by doing this program, maybe Google can change out all those Pixelbook Go's that they use at events like I.O. and Made by Google. They can change all those out and not embarrass themselves by not using their own hardware.
Last week, the Pixel tablet team was doing a Q&A, and they described it as, well, I'll just quote here. We also thought about how the Pixel portfolio of devices work together. Pixel phones, Pixel Watch, Pixel Buds. It wasn't complete without a tablet. So we built a tablet that completes the family and is uniquely Google. In that sense, it's... You have the phones, you have the watch, you have the headphones, you have the tablet. It kind of feels like there's something missing.
Right. Yeah, that's true, because there is no... Like, what do you actually get work done on? And the tablet is not that. The tablet is an entertainment device / smart home. There's no productivity there. So maybe so. Again,
even if they did like a Pixel Tablet Pro, I don't think the software is that. We've long been chasing an Android desktop mode. But let's say they get that perfectly down. They equal DeX. Samsung DeX in that regard, and that they have a full desktop class operating environment, which they should have some experience from ChromeOS on building. Unless they're actually using ChromeOS there, the biggest stumbling block is that Chrome for Android is still like a fancy mobile browser. It's not desktop class. I can't get work done on that.
Right. So yeah, I just don't see that. There's an argument for it. I do see that. There's an argument for why they could do it, if only just so that the Pixel ecosystem is complete. But that's... I don't know. It does look bad that Apple has this very full and complete ecosystem, and that a MacBook and an iPhone work so very well together, and Google does not have a Pixel laptop to join the two together with. And I don't know. I hope that Chromebook X takes us a long way toward
a good baseline
ecosystem.
A good baseline of devices that Google can actually point to. A part of the Google family is Chromebook X. A part of the Google hardware family is Chromebook X.
Right.
But
because they used to do that to a certain extent. Like at the Pixel events, they would talk about, oh yeah, your Pixel phone and your Chromebook. I don't even think they said your Pixelbook. Your Pixel phone and your Chromebook work better together.
Yeah, that better together initiative. Yeah, So I don't know. Right now, at this point, like a Pixel Tablet Pro with a proper keyboard, with a proper stylus, feels somewhat... I think I'd still take a Chromebook if all they did was hardware investments.
That's true.
So yeah, that to end on a slightly down note, unfortunately. I think that's where we are with the Pixelbook. Barring some big X factor, some big tensor, it maybe, yeah, I can't even say that tensor has like something that tensors contribute something meaningfully big to a laptop style form factor. We're not at that point yet.
I mean, like we were saying earlier, though, like all Google needed to do last time was just make a good Chromebook. And that's what they did with the Pixelbook. They made a good Chromebook, and we praised it as such. So in theory, they could do it again without any unique factor other than that hardware, and that could be just fine. It's just they've been trying to do it, and they've been failing thus far.
So yeah, that's where we stand on this. Thank you for joining us, everyone. You can find us on YouTube and Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and your other favorite podcasting platforms. We are off next week for the July 4th in the US, so we'll see you after that.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.